Hello everybody, welcome to this wonderful reading. I'm Zoe Alex, welcome. So basically in this tarot card reading, this is going to be for May 12th to May 21st of 2025. So this is for a Virgo reading, basically for individual who is a Virgo, and if you're Earth sign, welcome. If you're not Earth sign or whoever zodiac sign you are with, it doesn't really matter what it is, so this is the way it seems to be. So that's how it kind of concludes. I'm not trying to be mean or rude, but whether if you have a zodiac sign that is an earth sign that is in your basically your uh, birth chart, whatever it is, or your astrology chart, whatever it is, you know what it seems to be, right? So that's how it is, right? So if you have Virgo in your north node or your south node or your west node or your your south node, whatever it is, right? You have to understand about how it seems to be, right? That's the way it kind of concludes. And when this reading is happening between this whole entire universe, this is the way it seems to be in that way. We have to be who we are in the way of how it seems to be. We have to understand that because we have to know how it is, right? We're not trying to have our own, not trying to have mini pause of this the way how it goes, but you know what I'm saying, right? So that's just the way it seems to be. And when you go through that way situation, you know what it takes, you know how it gets involved. But the way how this is, you have to be, the way how it is, whether you seem to be very good, but you have to know exactly from your strengths, your weaknesses, your abilities, from the right or wrong perspective. But that's how it seems to be, right? You have to understand that when things could be in the right perfect moment, you know what it is, right? You have to know know how it is in that way. You have to think, okay, well, this is the way it seems to be. I got this. But it's like, well, let's think about it, right? That's how it seems to be. So, this oracle card I'm going to read you about is death. Is I'm learning that endings are merely beginnings. That's the way it kind of goes. Where you have to understand that, there is a life cycle here where you do exactly how it is from the old energy to new energy or whatever it is, right? It's like how you're going to be staying positive rather than having negative. But the way of how this is, you have to try to understand about how you're going to be in that way of knowing what to do. You have to know about how it is. So if you're having endings, you might have new beginnings or whatever it is. But it all depends on what you're doing in that perspective. That's the way it goes, right? So when you have that, you have the ability from the right or wrong perspective. That's the way it seems to be. But then how this is, you have to determine what's going to be good, and that's the way it seems to be, right? You have to know exactly how it is, and that's the way it seems to be. All right, so that's how it is. So let me see what's going on. Basically of how it's going to be. This is the way it kind of occurs, and this is the way it seems to be, and knowing that this is the way it kind of goes. So let's see what's happening. Let's see. So let's see what's happening. So you will see the cards eventually, but it's the way it kind of occurs. Is the way it seems to be in that way. So it's the way it depends on what's happening in that perspective. That's the way it kind of occurs, right? That's the way it seems to be. And when things to be in the right perspective, you think, okay, well, everything seems to be fine. But then it's like, well, this is determined the way of how this is, right? This is the way it kind of is, and this is the way it kind of goes, right? So when things to be in that perspective, this is the way it seems to be, but then you have to understand what it takes, alright? So here we go. So this is a huge reading. Like, look at this. It's huge, isn't it? Yeah, because the way how this is, Virgo for you, basically, you have the Four of Wands represents celebration. You could be single, or you could be getting married, whatever it is. Magician's upright, you're gonna have skill. You have your basic needs, whatever it is. The Seven of Pentacles reverse, you already have a career. That's great. That's how it is. But the Sun card reverse, you are in negativity. I don't know what's going on while you're being so negative, but you know what? You need to understand about how everything is, how perplexed of how it seems to be. But then you have to be how you can be originally of how it goes, right? That's the way it seems to be. And when things to be in that perspective, you know what it is. The Two of Pentacles reverse, you're not balancing two things at once. I don't know why, but everything is like over control or whatever, or you know what I mean. It means that you are under control, or you're not balancing two things at once, or whatever it is. So it's like how it is, right? It's unbalanced, and when things are not unbalanced, it's the way how it goes, right? The World is upright. There is completion here. That's the way it kind of goes, and the Fool is upright. There is change, or going to come up. That's why it seems to be. And when you know that, you know how you have your own determination of how it seems to be. So that's the way it kind of goes. So let's see what's going on in this whole entire reading, because this is the way it kind of goes. So let's see what's happening. So I'll do a 3-card reading, because this is the way it kind of illustrates the way how this is. Let's see what's going on. So I'm not going to say in the past, but if I did, then it would be very interesting. But this is the way of how it is. So let me go to see what the Magician is. The Ace of Wands reverse, followed with 2 of Cups is upright, followed with the Queen of Pentacles is upright. Yeah, so there is security, or there is the way how it is. It could be insecurity, whatever it is, or it could be whatever it is. You might have prosperity. I mean, you're going to be looking for money. That's the way it goes. You could be dealing with in their Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. You could be dealing with in their Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. That's the way it goes. You could be having friendships, relationships with somebody, because you need to be how you can, the way of how this is, the way of how you can understand about how everything is, and you're thinking, well, I know what it is. It's an opportunity to learn. I got it, what it takes. That's why it seems to be, right? This is like how it is. You're not trying to have a mini pause situation, but if it is, you know what it takes, right? That's the way it seems to be. What's happening with this 7 of Wands here? Or 10 Pentacles, I mean, here. King Pentacles is upright, the Strength card is upright, followed the Justice reverse. Yeah, because you're not telling the truth, because you're lying about something. The Strength card is upright because you're going to be having the strength to have bravery, because that's the way it seems to be in that way. That's how it is. The Justice reverse, you're not telling the truth. I don't know why, but you're lying about something because there was something that was happening in that way, and you're thinking, well, this is not going to end well. What's happening with this Justice card? The Page of Cups is upright, yeah, because you want loyalty. Yeah, you want to stay loyal, because that's the way it seems to be. In that way, you're trying to determine what's going on in that way of how it goes. You're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do. I got this. But it's like, what's the ratio? That's the way it seems to be, right? And when you know that, you know what it goes. But then it's like, I don't know what it takes. But then it's like, okay, I know what's beyond this situation. What's between this 4 of Wands and this the Sun card here? 2 of Swords reversed, followed by the World is upright, followed by the 6 of Pentacles is upright. Yeah, because you want kindness, you want to be kind, you want to be generosity, you want to have completion, because that's the way it goes. You're thinking, okay, well, I know what to do, I know what it takes, let me at it, you know what I mean, right? That's why it seems to be that, because you need to understand that, how you can understand where the way it goes, and you're thinking, okay, well, I know what to do, this is very how it's going to be, I need to do it, but that's the way it seems to be. You have to know what it takes beyond that comparison of knowing what to do. It's like you're having this compare and contrast of doing two things at once. You're comparing one, you're comparing yourself, or you can compare it to another person, whatever it is, right? But you need to understand that the way of how this is, you have to know what it takes. You have to know exactly how you can get involved of knowing what to do, because that's the way it seems to be. You know what it takes. You know how you can do it, because that's the way it goes, right? That's why it seems to be, because you know what it takes. You know how you're going to get involved. So You could be deal with another Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus as zodiac signs, right? That's the way it goes. What's happening between? So I'm gonna go from the Four of Wands to the Fool. Let's see. The Ten of Swords reversed, followed by the Seven of Cups reversed, followed by the Three of Pentacles upright. Yeah, because you want celebration. Maybe you'll be talking, you're going to know what it takes, because that's the way it seems to be. So when things to be in that way of knowing what to do, that could be very how it is. That's the way it seems to be, because everything is like completed, but it's like, well, we don't know what it is, but this is the way it seems to be. This is the way it seems to be, and knowing about how it takes, because you have to know exactly how you can do it. That's why you need to do that in the way of how this is. What's happening between this World card here? The Temperance is reversed, followed with the Tower is upright, followed the Magician reversed, followed with the Page of Swords is upright. Yeah, because you want to have education, because you want to be educated. That's the way it seems to be. The Tower is upright. There's transformation. Everything is changing. That's the way it goes, right? So when you have skill, you have skill. If you don't have skill, then what's the point, right? But the way how this is, the way how how you have your own circumstances, how you can do it. How it takes. Because of that, the way how this is, it's like how you can do it in one way or another. That's the way it kind of goes. It's like you're trying to not let it go, but the way of how this is like how I can do it in one way of how it is. I'm trying to have my own peace of mind, but the way how this is, it's like how you can understand that. It's like there's a good thing is slow and steady wins the race. That's the way it goes, right? It's like you're halfway there, but you need to keep going and knowing what to do, right? It's like you're trying to not stay negative all the time, but you're trying to stay positive. But then you're in a negative spot. When you're in a negative spot, it's like, why would you do that? Right? Because you're acting all kind and you're acting all great. You're trying to have loyalty. You're trying to have, good aspects of your whole entire life, whatever it is. It's like that's the way it goes. But you have to be contributing of how it's going to be in that way. You're trying to have your own experience about the right and wrong perspective. That's the way it seems to be, right? Because you need to understand, because there are two wrongs don't make right. You understand, right? That's how it seems to be. And when you know that, that's the way it kind of gets involved. So let's see what's going on. So I'm going to go from the middle to the left, middle to the right. King of Cups is upright, follow the Devil is upright, follow the Two Wands is upright, follow the Chariot reverse. So you have no progress, okay? But when the Devil is upright, because there's obsessions, there could be addictions, that's the way it goes. Two Wands is upright because you're going to be planning on something, that's the way it goes. The King of Cups is upright because you want support, that's the way it seems to be. What's happening with this Chariot? The Six of Pentacles is upright, yeah, because you want kindness. Yeah, because you're acting to be kind. You don't want to be all mean or rude or whatever it is. But the way how this is, you have your determination, right? Because you're determining where you're going to get, what you're going to want, whatever you want to need. That's what it seems to be. Because that's how it seems to be in that way. You need to understand of how it goes in one or another. That's why it seems to be. So, you have the Devil is upright because you have, basically you could be dealing with another Capricorn, but you could be dealing with another, a obsession or addictions or violation or whatever it is. It's like you're trying to know what's going on, and you need to understand that. Whether you're trying to act like you're not trying to be mean or rude, but if you're acting like that, what's the point? What's the point of having these little ways of knowing about how it is? You're trying to, crave about getting attention or whatever it is. You're trying to ask for your own circumstances, whatever it is. But you know what I'm saying. You need to understand about how you can do that in the way of how this is. You have to be who you are to understand that in the way of how this is, right? You have to determine the determination. You know what I mean, right? That's why it seems to be that. So what's happening between the middle and the right side, please? The King of Pentacles reverse, follow the Lovers is upright, follow the Sisters upright, follow by the Emperor is upright. Yeah, because you're going to have structure, you have decisions, and you're telling the truth. That's the way it goes. But the way how this is, the way how this can be very casual, it seems to be that. But you have to understand that you have to impress of your own abilities from the right and wrong perspective. That's why it seems to be that. That's why it's like, okay, well, I know what to do. This is the way it seems to be. I know how it takes, but that's how it is, right? That's the way it seems to be that. What's in the middle of this situation? The high priestess upright, yeah, because you want to use your inner voice, right? That's the way it seems to be. You're trying to, be calm, be steady, whatever it is. But then it's like, you need to do exactly what it takes because that's the way it seems to be, right? Because that's the way of how it goes. So I'm going to go from the middle to the left, middle to the right. The Sun card reverse, yeah, there's negativity. The Fool is upright, there's change. The Empress is upright, there's nourishment. The Strength card reverse, there's no strength. And the Lover is upright because you're going to make decisions, right? Because you're going to make decisions on the left side, you're going to make decisions on the right side because you have so many decisions. That's why it seems to be that. The Strength card reverse means you're not being brave because you're being scared, right? You're trying to like, why I'm being scared, why I'm acting like this, because you're in negativity. Of the Sun card reverse because you're not staying positive. You're in a negative spot, right? That's the way it goes. When the Fool is upright, you have basically change of the way how it goes, and you're thinking, okay, well, I know what to do. I got this, but it's like, well, doesn't make sense, right? Doesn't make that reality sense of knowing what to do. But then it's like, I know what it takes. I know what it is. I got this, but that's the way it seems to be. That's why it seems to be that. What's happening between the middle and the right side? The Star reverse, the High Priestess reverse, the Death card is upright, but the Devil is upright. Yeah, because you're feeling, addictions, or you're having obsessions, or you're having violation, because you have the Death card that represents endings, right? You could be possibly linked with a Scorpio as a water sign, a zodiac sign, right? So you have to pay attention about that in that way, because it's like, alright, this is the way it seems to be. What's in the middle? The World is upright, yeah, because there's completion here. That's very interesting, because the way of how this is like, okay, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do, but it's like, this is the way of how it goes. This is the why it seems to be this, right? And when things to be into a different perspective, that's why it kind of goes in that way. That's the way it seems to be. So this is going to be very strange, where I'm going to go from the middle to the right side, middle to the left side, okay? So the Emperor reverse, follow the Moon reverse, follow the Chariot is upright, follow the Death card is upright, follow the Judgment is upright, follow the Wheel of Fortune reverse, yeah, because you're having bad luck, right? When you have Judgment, you're taking action. That's the way it goes. The Chariot is upright, you're going to have progress. The Death card represents ending, so another Scorpio, as another water sign, zodiac sign, you know what I mean. But that's how it seems to be. The Emperor reverse, you have no structure. Okay, that's the way it goes. But that's how it seems to be. What's happening between the middle and the left side? The Devil is upright, follow the Empress is upright, follow the Fool is upright, follow the Hermit reverse, so you already have a soulmate. The Magician reverse, so there's no skill, negativity. Yeah, because you have the Sun card reverse. So you are in a negativity spot, but you're acting like, you want to be negative, right? That's why it seems to be like, it's like everyone's trying to push you away. And you're thinking, well, why? Because you're not acting to be positive. You're acting all negative, right? What's happening between the Sun card here? The Tower is upright, yeah, because there's transformation, yeah. Because everything's changing, right? It's like, that's why it seems to be that, because you have to do what you're told to do, because you have to be who you are. That's why it seems to be that. And when things to be in that perspective, you think, well, that's the way it kind of gets involved, of knowing what it takes because of how it seems to be, right? That's why it seems to be that. So let's see what's going on. Let's see what the universe is going to say here. So I'm going to go from the middle to the left, middle to the right. So let's see. So I'm going to go from the middle to the left, middle to the right. So the Knight of Pentacles here is you have no trust because you're not trusting anybody, right? Because you know how it takes. If you're in negativity, you have no any trust, right? That's the way it goes. So let's see what's happening. Five of Pentacles right, there's insecurity. Queen of Swords right, there's independence. And the Eight of Wands right, there's speed. Yeah, because that's the way it goes, right? It's like you're having your own potential of knowing what's going on, and when you have independence, you show that ability from the right and wrong perspective. That's why it seems to be that. And when that occurs, you know how it is, and that's how it seems to be in that way. Because you know how it is. You know what's going on in that way, and you're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be. I got this. That's why it seems to be that. What's happening between the middle and the right side, please? Two Wands start, there's planning. The Ten of Cups reversed, there's no delusion. Five of Cups is reversed, there's no grief. The Page of Cups reversed, there's no loyalty. Eight of Swords reversed, there's no anxiety. The Strength of reversed, there's no bravery because you're being scared. The Justice reversed, you're not telling the truth because you're lying about something. The Empress reversed, there's no nourishment. The Six of Wands reversed, there's no achievement. But Eight of Pentacles upright, there's perfection. Like there was something that was behind this, right? So it's like, I don't know why you're not telling the truth, but you're lying about something. When you lie, it's basically, it's very tempting about knowing what to do. And when you make lies or whatever it is, there's something that's happening. It's like what's going on in that way, because you need to understand that. That's why it seems to be that. That's why it occurs in that, the way of how it seems to be in that way. What's in the middle of this situation? The High Priest reverse, you're not using your inner voice. The Tower reverse, there's no transformation. The Page of Pentacles reverse, there's no prospects. The Knight of Swords reverse, there's no trauma. But the King of Pentacles right, there's security. Yeah, because the way of how this is, you're trying to know what it takes, but you're trying to do whatever you want. But it's like how you're going to do that in the way of how this is. It's like, does it make any sense? That's the way it seems to be. And when there are things that you must learn first, you have to understand the abilities from the way of how this is. It's like, how you can do that in the way of how everything is, because that's the way it seems to be that. So let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on for Virgo for May 12th to May 21st of 2025. So let's see. Number 24 is stuck in the mud. Ooh, this is very interesting indeed. So let's see. So number 24 is upright, and it says stuck in the mud. It says stuck in the mud. You're being invited to stop and savor the wonder of your life. So it says upright. It says becoming stuck is sometimes the only way to trick yourself into slowing down and looking around you. In fact, this is a sign that you need to shift your focus away from what you're doing and place your attention elsewhere. Struggling will only get you to even muddier places. Now is not the time to move forward, but to observe. Clarity about your circumstances will come a little later. Stop and find the joy in what you have been overlooking. Soon you will be out of the mud, but for now, be still and know that Spirit has a plan for you. So basically, it means that you're going to be, when it says that actually you need to you need to shift your focus away from from what you're doing and place your attention somewhere elsewhere, because you need to place your attention elsewhere. That's why it seems to be right. You want to pay attention. You want everyone to pay attention about you, Virgo. And I know how it is. I know that you want loyalty. You want things to be happening. You want to act all kind. You want to be whoever it is. And that's the way it goes. But you have to pay attention that if you're acting so mean or rude or whatever it is, it's like, there's a good question. And let me ask you a question, and you can put the comments below if you want. But I'll say this to you, Virgo. This is my question. Say, what's wrong with you? Having negativity. What's wrong with you? Is there someone that was bothering you? Question. Okay? So remember that question. I hope that you can understand that, and I hope that you can put the comment below if you want. But the way of how this is, you have to understand that the way of how this is, and that's the way it seems to be. You need to understand about how it goes in one way or another, and you have to believe that everything seems to be fine. But then it's like, well, you need to understand that. That's the way it seems to be. And when things to be in that perspective, that's why it seems to be that. That's how it is. Because you have to know about how unnaturally about what's going on in this situation, because that's the way it seems to be. You have to determine about what's going on in one way or another, right? That's the way it seems to be. So it's like you need to be who you are to understand what's going on, but that's how it seems to be. You have to pay attention to it, and whether it seems to be going bad or good, whatever it is, you have to pay attention to it, right? That's why it seems to be that. And when you have to do that, exactly, that's how it kind of goes, right? You're trying to get yourself involved, and you have to know what it takes, and you have to do exactly how it is, and that's how it is, right? That's why it seems to be that. And you have to understand that, okay, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do. But it's like, okay, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do. And that's how it is, right? So you have to understand the way how it goes, but that's how it seems to be in that way. So I hope you all like this video. Please give a like, please give a comment if you want, but it's the way it seems to be, and this is the way it goes. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day to all, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye for now, really, and bye.